On May 15, 2008, college senior Jessica Chen walked out of her final exam at Northwestern University, smiling and confident about graduating in just 3 weeks. Her roommate Sarah Williams watched her leave the dormitory that morning, backpack slung over her shoulder, promising to celebrate that evening after her last test. But Jessica never returned to her dorm room, and what Sarah was hiding would remain buried for 15 years until guilt finally forced her to speak. What Sarah revealed wasn't just about a missing roommate. It was about a double life, a dangerous obsession, and a truth so devastating that it would rewrite everything the police thought they knew about Jessica's disappearance. Because the person everyone trusted most was the one who had been lying all along. Our story unfolds in May 2008 at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois. Spring semester was ending, and campus buzzed with the energy of finals week and approaching graduation. Jessica Chen, a 22-year-old psychology major from San Francisco, was just 3 weeks away from earning her degree with highest honors. Jessica had been a model student throughout her 4 years at Northwestern. She maintained a 3.9 GPA, volunteered at the Campus Crisis Center, and planned to pursue graduate school in clinical psychology. Her professors described her as dedicated, compassionate, and destined for success in her chosen field. Her roommate, Sarah Williams, was also a psychology major, though her academic performance had been declining throughout senior year. The two had shared a dorm room in Elder Hall since their sophomore year, and to outsiders, they appeared to be close friends. Jessica's parents, Dr. Michael Chen and Lisa Chen, had met Sarah multiple times during family weekends and considered her a positive influence on their daughter. On the morning of May 15th, Jessica woke up early to review her notes one final time for her advanced abnormal psychology exam. The test was scheduled for 2 p.m. in Swift Hall, one of the university's oldest academic buildings. Sarah later told police that Jessica seemed excited and confident, mentioning that this exam would complete her undergraduate requirements. Jessica's daily routine was well established and predictable. She typically spent mornings in the library, attended classes or exams in the afternoon, and returned to the dorm by early evening. She was punctual, organized, and always communicated her whereabouts to friends and family. Her sudden disappearance was completely out of character. The exam went according to schedule. Professor Dr. Elizabeth Morrison later confirmed that Jessica had been present, appeared focused, and submitted her test booklet at approximately 3:45 p.m. She was among the last students to finish, which was typical for Jessica's thorough approach to academics. Dr. Morrison remembered Jessica smiling as she handed in her exam, expressing gratitude for the semester. Campus security footage captured Jessica leaving Swift Hall at 3:52 p.m. She appeared relaxed, walking at a normal pace toward the direction of her dormitory. The footage showed her stopping briefly to check her phone, then continuing along the main pathway through campus. This would be the last confirmed sighting of Jessica Chen. When Jessica failed to return to Elder Hall by 8 p.m., Sarah Williams became concerned. Jessica had mentioned plans to celebrate the completion of her exams, and they had tentatively discussed going to dinner together. Sarah tried calling Jessica's cell phone multiple times, but the calls went straight to voicemail. By 10 p.m., Sarah contacted Jessica's parents in San Francisco. Dr. Chen immediately asked Sarah to check with campus security and local hospitals. When these inquiries yielded no information, Jessica's parents booked the next available flight to Chicago. They arrived at Northwestern the following morning and immediately contacted the Evanston Police Department. Detective Mark Rodriguez was assigned to the case. His initial investigation focused on Jessica's final known movements and any potential safety concerns. The campus security footage was reviewed, Jessica's professors and classmates were interviewed, and her dorm room was thoroughly examined for clues. The examination of Jessica's room revealed some puzzling details. Her bed appeared to have been slept in, though Sarah claimed Jessica hadn't returned the previous night. Jessica's laptop was missing, despite Sarah's assertion that it had been on Jessica's desk that morning. Most strangely, several of Jessica's personal items seemed to have been moved or rearranged, though Sarah couldn't explain the discrepancies. Detective Rodriguez's investigation expanded to include Jessica's academic records, financial information, and personal relationships. Jessica had no history of mental health issues, substance abuse, or risky behavior. Her bank account showed no unusual activity, and her credit cards hadn't been used since the morning of her disappearance when she purchased coffee at the campus bookstore. The search for Jessica intensified over the following days. Campus security, local police, and volunteer groups conducted extensive searches of the university grounds, nearby parks, and the shores of Lake Michigan. Flyers with Jessica's photograph were distributed throughout Evanston and Chicago. The university offered a $10,000 reward for information leading to Jessica's safe return. Media attention grew as days turned into weeks without any trace of the missing student. Jessica's case was featured on local news broadcasts and missing persons websites. Her parents held press conferences, pleading for anyone with information to come forward. The Northwestern community rallied around the Chen family, organizing prayer vigils and continued search efforts. Throughout this period, Sarah Williams appeared to be a supportive friend and cooperative witness. She participated in searches, distributed flyers, and provided emotional support to Jessica's parents. She consistently maintained that Jessica had left for her exam that morning in good spirits, and that nothing had seemed unusual about their interaction. However, Detective Rodriguez began to notice inconsistencies in Sarah's statements. Her account of the timeline varied slightly between interviews. She seemed unusually knowledgeable about police procedures and investigation techniques, often asking detailed questions about the search process. Most concerning, her emotional responses didn't always seem authentic or appropriate to the circumstances. 3 weeks after Jessica's disappearance, Northwestern University held its graduation ceremony. Jessica's parents attended, accepting her diploma posthumously in a ceremony that moved many attendees to tears. Sarah Williams also graduated that day, though several classmates later remarked that she seemed detached and unemotional during what should have been a celebratory occasion. As summer progressed with no developments in the case, Jessica's disappearance gradually faded from public attention. Detective Rodriguez continued investigating sporadically, but without new leads, the case eventually went cold. Jessica's parents returned to San Francisco, forever changed by the loss of their daughter and the lack of answers about her fate. The case file remained officially open, but with no new evidence or witnesses, there was little hope of resolution. Jessica Chen had simply vanished, leaving behind only questions and the grief of those who loved her. Sarah Williams completed her undergraduate degree and moved to Seattle, where she began working at a mental health clinic. She maintained sporadic contact with Jessica's parents for several months, expressing continued hope that Jessica would be found safe. Eventually, even these communications ceased, and Sarah seemed to disappear from the lives of everyone connected to the case. For 15 years, the mystery of Jessica Chen's disappearance remained unsolved. Jessica's parents never stopped hoping for answers, but as time passed, they began to accept that they might never know what happened to their daughter. The case became one of many cold files in the Evanston Police Department, occasionally reviewed, but never resolved. In the fall of 2023, everything changed when Sarah Williams, now working as a therapist in Portland, Oregon, contacted the Evanston Police Department. After years of therapy and soul-searching, she was ready to reveal the truth about what happened to Jessica Chen on May 15, 2008. Detective Jennifer Park, who had recently taken over cold cases for the department, received Sarah's call on a Tuesday morning in October. Sarah's voice was shaky as she identified herself and requested an interview about Jessica's disappearance. She claimed to have information that had never been shared with investigators. Sarah's revelation began with a confession that she had been living a double life during college. While presenting herself as a dedicated psychology student, she had become increasingly involved with online communities focused on true crime and missing persons cases. What started as academic interest had evolved into an unhealthy obsession with disappearances and the investigation process. More disturbing was Sarah's admission that she had developed an intense psychological fixation on Jessica. She revealed that she had been secretly documenting Jessica's daily routines, photographing her without permission, and reading her private journals and emails. Sarah described feeling simultaneously devoted to and resentful of Jessica's academic success and seemingly perfect life. The truth about May 15, 2008 was more tragic than anyone had imagined. According to Sarah's confession, Jessica had indeed returned to their dorm room after her exam, arriving around 4:30 p.m. However, instead of finding an empty room as expected, Jessica discovered Sarah going through her personal belongings and private correspondence. Confronted with evidence of Sarah's stalking behavior, Jessica had threatened to report her to university authorities and law enforcement. An argument ensued, during which Sarah's obsession and resentment finally erupted into violence. In a moment of rage and panic, Sarah struck Jessica with a heavy textbook, causing a fatal head injury. Sarah's confession continued with details about how she had concealed Jessica's death and disposed of her body. Using knowledge gained from her obsessive study of criminal cases, Sarah had carefully planned the cover-up. She moved Jessica's body to a storage area in the dormitory basement, later transporting it off campus during the night in a large duffel bag. Jessica's body had been buried in a wooded area approximately 20 miles from campus, in a location Sarah had scouted weeks earlier while supposedly searching for her missing roommate. Sarah had returned Jessica's laptop and other personal items to the burial site, creating the impression that Jessica had left campus voluntarily with her belongings. The investigation that followed Sarah's confession moved quickly. Ground-penetrating radar equipment was brought to the location she had described, and within days, Jessica's remains were discovered exactly where Sarah had indicated. Forensic examination confirmed the cause of death and supported Sarah's account of the events. Sarah Williams was arrested and charged with second-degree murder, concealing a death, and obstruction of justice. During her court proceedings, psychological evaluations revealed a complex mental health history, including obsessive-compulsive disorder, attachment issues, and antisocial personality traits that had gone undiagnosed during college. The revelation of Sarah's guilt shocked everyone who had known both women during their time at Northwestern. Professors, classmates, and university staff struggled to reconcile their memories of Sarah as a helpful, concerned friend with the reality of her role in Jessica's death. Many expressed feelings of betrayal and confusion about how they had been deceived for so long. Dr. Michael and Lisa Chen finally received the answers they had sought for 15 years, though the truth brought little comfort. In a statement released through their attorney, they expressed gratitude for the resolution of the case, while acknowledging that no amount of justice could restore their daughter or the years of uncertainty they had endured. The case prompted Northwestern University to review its dormitory security procedures and mental health resources for students. New protocols were implemented for reporting concerning behavior and providing support for students experiencing psychological difficulties. Jessica's memory was honored through the establishment of a scholarship fund for students pursuing careers in mental health advocacy. Sarah Williams ultimately pleaded guilty to all charges and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. During her sentencing hearing, she expressed remorse for her actions and the pain she had caused Jessica's family. However, forensic psychologists noted that her expressions of guilt appeared more focused on the consequences she faced, rather than genuine empathy for her victim. The resolution of Jessica Chen's case provided closure for her family and friends, but it also raised troubling questions about how well we truly know the people closest to us. Sarah Williams had successfully maintained a facade of normalcy and friendship while harboring dangerous obsessions and ultimately committing murder. Jessica's story serves as a reminder of the importance of recognizing warning signs of unhealthy behavior and the need for comprehensive mental health support in educational settings. Her death was a tragedy that might have been prevented if Sarah's psychological issues had been identified and addressed earlier. Today, Jessica Chen is remembered not as a victim of a senseless crime, but as a brilliant young woman whose life was cut short just as she was about to begin making her mark on the world. Her family continues to honor her memory through advocacy work focused on campus safety and mental health awareness. The case also highlighted the dedication of law enforcement professionals who never give up on cold cases. Detective Jennifer Park's willingness to pursue new leads after 15 years ultimately brought justice for Jessica and peace of mind for her loved ones. Sarah Williams remains incarcerated, participating in therapy programs and psychological treatment. Whether her expressions of remorse represent genuine rehabilitation or continued manipulation remains a subject of debate among the mental health professionals who work with her. For the Northwestern University community, Jessica's case serves as a sobering reminder that danger can come from the most unexpected sources. The young woman who shared Jessica's room for 2 years, who comforted her family during their darkest hours, and who helped search for her missing friend, had been responsible for her death all along. The tragedy of Jessica Chen's disappearance and murder will continue to resonate with those who knew her and those who have followed her story. Her case demonstrates both the worst of human nature and the best, as a community came together to seek justice for a beloved member who was taken too soon. In the end, the truth about Jessica's disappearance was hidden not in some random act of violence or accident, but in the psychological darkness of someone she trusted completely. The person who knew her daily routines, her hopes and fears, and her plans for the future was the same person who ended her life and spent 15 years living with that secret. Jessica Chen's memory lives on through the scholarship that bears her name, the safety improvements implemented in her honor, and the love of family and friends who never stopped believing that someday, somehow, the truth would finally come to light.